Alright, so here is the sample we're going to be crocheting today, and this is going to be a Tunisian crochet stitch. This is the square number 2 for those of you that are crocheting the sampler Afghan. If you're not, that's okay. If you're just watching the video to learn a new stitch, this is just a basket weave stitch. We're going to be using the knit stitch and then a, what is it called? It's a reverse stitch in Spanish, but it's not the reverse stitch. It is a purl. There we go. It took me a while. So you're going to be using knits and purls for this stitch. It is crocheted in multiples of 6. But yeah, that's all I've got for you. So let's get started. All right, so we're going to begin with a slip knot, and we're going to wrap the yarn around 2 fingers, insert your hook into that first loop, grab the thread back here and pull it through. And then just tighten the knot by pulling on the 2 threads individually. Like I said before, it's going to be a multiple of 6. So for those of you crocheting the square, you're going to make a chain of 30. And if you're not, just any multiple of 6 will do. So to make a chain, for those of you that don't know how, you're going to wrap the yarn around your hook like this, and you're going to pull this top loop through this bottom loop. So there's 1. So yarn over, pull through, 2, 3, 4, and so forth until you have a chain of 30 stitches. So once you've got your chain, so here's my chain of 30, we're going to begin a foundation row. For the foundation row, you're going to skip the first stitch. This one I pulled it a little bit tight, so it looks kind of small, but skip the first chain, go into the second one, and cast on your first stitch. For this, you're going to insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over, oh, there you go, and pull up a loop. Leave this loop on your hook, and repeat in the next stitch. Insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over, and pull up a loop. And cast on, and so forth. So that's what your hook is going to look like. You're going to have, by at least when you finish casting on, the same number of loops on your hook as you crocheted number of chains. So I made a chain of 30. Once I complete the cast on row, I should have 30 loops on my hook. So once you've finished casting on all of your stitches, your hook should look a little like this. And we're going to work a return pass. Now for the return pass, this is a traditional or a regular return pass. So we're going to yarn over and pull through 1 loop. And the first loop on the hook is going to be that one. So you're going to yarn over and pull through this first loop. And then for the rest of the stitches, yarn over, pull through 2. So there's 1, 2. So here are the 2 loops. So yarn over, pull through 1, 2. There they are again. Yarn over, pull through 1, 2, and so forth, like that, until you have just 1 loop left on your hook. Now this is the same return pass you're going to use throughout the entire project. And then normally I refer to this as just a regular return pass. That's what you're going to see for anyone who is going to be reading the written pattern for this throw. The written pattern is not going to be available until I have all of the squares ready to go. So far I've got the 2 squares. It's already quite a lengthy pattern. It's got a ton of photos and as many descriptions as I could possibly provide. So hopefully it's a very detailed pattern for those of you that want it, but that won't be available until probably the fall or winter of this year. All right, so once you've completed your return pass, here's a look at that foundation row. Now the foundation row and the bind off, which is the very last row, do not go into your stitch count. Not your stitch count, your row count. So foundation, bind off, don't count into the row count. You start as of row 1. So the first few stitches and the last few stitches are going to be a little bit different. So this is a count of 6, this is a count of 6, this is a count of 6, but these 2 are a 5 count because you have the 1 loop that's already on your hook at the beginning of the row, and you're going to have that final cast on. So those are going to be a little bit different. So we're going to begin with purl. So it's going to be 5 purl, 6 knit, 6 purl, 6 knit, 5 purl. So 5, 6, 6, 6 purl. Yes? All right, so for those of you that have never seen a purl stitch, let's take it nice and slow here. So you're going to work a reverse yarn over. This is a regular yarn over. A reverse yarn over goes in front of your hook like this. Hold this down with your index finger, and you're going to crochet into this second vertical stitch. Always skip the first one. You already have it on your hook. Working into this second vertical stitch, you're going to insert your hook behind the front leg of the vertical stitch. So this is the back leg. this is the front leg. Insert your hook into the front leg of the vertical stitch, and then you're going to release your yarn. Now, you're going to pull it under the vertical stitch and behind your hook. And now regular yarn over and pull through one loop so that you cast on one. Let's do it again nice and slow. So reverse yarn over, hold this down, insert your hook, there we go, behind the front leg of the vertical stitch, release your yarn and loop it under the vertical stitch and behind the hook, and then yarn over and pull up a loop. So far we have 2. So reverse yarn over here, pull through for 3, 4, and 5. Now the next 6 stitches are going to be knit stitch. So again, here is your vertical stitch. It's got the back leg and the front leg. You're going to insert your hook between both all the way to the back, like so. Yarn over and pull up a loop. That's it. That was a knit stitch. So there's 1, so right in between the 2 legs like this, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, and then again 6 purl. So far we have 5 and then 6 purl. So where is it? There it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 knit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So here's what the end of the row is going to look like. You're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vertical stitches, and then the final stitch of the row. Let me see if I can hold it a little better. The final stitch of the row is just a cast on. So I'll show you that here in just a minute. So you're going to need 5 purl stitches. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you get to that final stitch of the row. You're going to cast on into, let me show you, this space right here. So right in there. So this stitch right here, down here at the bottom, that's part of the chain. So it's right above that. And I like to insert my hook like this. So I've got 2 of the threads here along the side. Then you're just going to cast it on. So just yarn over and pull up a loop. That way, this stitch, or I guess this section with the purl, matches this section of the purl. And it'll look like this. And it's going to be the same size. Alright, and now you work a regular return pass. So yarn over, pull through 1, and for the rest of the row, it's yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, until you get back to the beginning of the row. So, and you're going to be left with just 1 loop on your hook. Alright, for those of you that are more advanced and you just want to keep going, you're going to work a total of 4 rows. So that row that we just completed was row 1. So you want 4 rows with the purl at the beginning. So purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. Okay, 4. And then you're going to invert the stitches. So you're going to do 4 rows of knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. Again, the first section is only 5 stitches. So it's 5 knit, 6 purl, 6 knit, 6 purl, 5 knit. Yes? So, and then you just repeat that over and over. You're going to need a total of 28 rows. So here it is. So it's 28 rows. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 sections of purl and then 3 of knit. And then if you are even more advanced or you've watched enough of my videos that you know how to do a Tunisian stitch single crochet bind off, that's what I finished this off with. So just Tunisian single crochet, and then you just weave in your ends. For everybody else, don't worry, we're going to work on the rest of this together. So let's keep going. Alright, so we've completed that return pass, and this is what our work looks like so far. So you've got your purl stitches, and if you're not very familiar with Tunisian crochet, the purl stitch has a bit of a knot at the front, as you can see. And then here's the knit stitch. So you can kind of see the difference. We're going to repeat what we did in the previous row, so it's going to be 5 purl and then 6 knit. So I'll just work on this quickly with you guys. So remember that you always skip your first vertical stitch because you already have it on your hook. So you begin with a reverse yarn over, hold it down, insert your hook behind the first vertical stitch, or not vertical stitch, the first leg or the top leg of the vertical stitch like this. You're going to release the yarn, loop it under the vertical stitch and then behind your hook, and then yarn over and pull up a loop. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then we have 6 knit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 purl. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can't pull that through. There we go. And 6, and then 6 knit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we are left with this. So here are the 5 purl and then the final cast on. So it's the cast on the final stitch. So purl 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then you cast on into the final stitch, which, oh, I don't want to lose that stitch, is going to be right here. So this is what it's going to look like. It's going to be this bottom chain right there. So I'm going to insert my hook like so, leaving those 2 little loops right here on the side of the hook, yarn over and pull up 1, and that's it. So repeat this same row 2 more times. And if you lose count of your rows, don't worry, you can look at these little knots. So here's 1 row, here's 2 rows. You need a total of 4. So you can count your the knots. See, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how you know you have all 4 rows. Complete a total of 4 rows, and then I'll show you this transition here because the stitch is the same. I mean, you're just going to be knitting and purling. So I'll show you this transition, and then I can't speak. And then I will leave you so that you can complete the rest of your work. I'll also show you how to do the bind off. So let me complete this real quick. I'll show you this transition, move on to this section, and then we'll be done. All right, so once you have completed your 4 rows, so this is the 4 rows beginning with the purl stitch, we're going to switch the stitches. So we're going to begin with 5 knit stitches, and then we're going to complete 6 purl stitches. So we're inverting all of our stitches. So for those of you that need to see this, we're going to skip the first vertical stitch. We already have it on our hook. Let's go into the second one. Now the purl stitch also has the 2 legs like this vertical stitch does. They just have a little knot here at the bottom. So just pull that like this, and there's that back leg and the front one. So you're just going to knit stitch. So insert your hook in between both of the legs of the vertical stitch all the way to the back like this, yarn over and pull up a loop. And that's it. So we knit stitch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're going to purl on all of these knit stitches. So it's going to be purl 6. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then you just continue the same sequence. So you've got, this is going to be 6 knit, 6 purl, and then you're going to end with 5 knit, and then your final cast on. And that's it. You're going to repeat that for 4 rows, and your work is going to look like this. So it's 4 rows, 4 rows, 4 rows, and so forth. Once you've completed all 28 rows, we're going to work on the bind off. Now the bind off, I'll show it to you right here. That one's really, really simple. You're going to crochet a Tunisian simple stitch. And if you don't know what that is, let's take a look here. The Tunisian simple stitch, we're going to also beginning here on that second vertical stitch. You're going to insert your hook behind the top leg of the stitch. You're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. So that was a Tunisian simple stitch. You're going to close this as a single crochet. So for the single crochet, you're going to yarn over and pull this loop through these 2 that you already have on your hook. That's going to leave you with just 1 loop on your hook. So that was a Tunisian simple stitch, single crochet, bind off. It's long. All right, let's go into the next stitch and do this again. You're going to insert your hook behind the top leg of the vertical stitch. You're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. Once you have 2 loops on your hook, you're going to single crochet. So yarn over and pull through 2. So Tunisian simple stitch, single crochet, simple stitch, single crochet. And you're going to repeat this no matter what stitch it is. So it's going to be in all of the vertical stitches of the row, including this final stitch. For this one, you're just going to cast on and then single crochet. So repeat this in every single one of the vertical stitches of the row. And what your work is going to look like is this. So you're going to have a clean edge at the top that matches the one at the bottom. It's going to close off the spacing between all of your stitches like this. So it's going to close that up, and that's it. Once you complete the bind off, so I'll show you here with these last few stitches. So let's single crochet here. I can't do this. There we go. And then here's that final stitch. So I'm going to cast this on. And then single crochet. Once you complete this, just chain 1. That's going to make a small knot, and then tighten it up. Cut your yarn and pull your yarn and your thread through. That's going to pull the yarn all the way through like this. It's going to leave you with a small knot, and then all you have to do is just weave in your ends. All right, so to weave in your end with Tunisian crochet, you're going to turn your work so you're looking at the back side. So here's the front side of the fabric. We're going to take a look at the back, and you're going to use the return pass. So these stitches right here that run across, horizontally. So you're just going to stitch into one of these stitches, try to hide it towards the back of the work. So here, I'm going to scoot a little more towards the center. Let's pull this yarn a little bit more. All right, so I tend to hide the weave in my ends in a bit of a square shape. The stitch doesn't always lend itself to that, but this particular stitch does. So you're going to try to find a good space where you see some sort of vertical stitching and just stitch down. Then I'm going to turn my work like this, and then we're going to stitch in the opposite direction, or not opposite, I guess in a side direction. Because remember, we're kind of stitching in a bit of a square shape. And then you find another stitch like this one, and you're going to hide your thread through. Go back up towards the top. And there you go. And you just go around a few times. You don't have to go around too many times. 2 or 3 times is more than enough. But this is going to do is it's going to keep your work from unraveling. So you're going to be able to wash it. I mean, if your yarn allows you, you can wash this, and yeah, you won't lose your stitching. Once you can no longer, I guess, stitch around. I'm having difficulties today, although it seems to be kind of a common theme. I often get really tongue-tied. All right, so we're going to stitch through as far as we can. And pull that. And whatever little bit of yarn you have left like that, just cut it off. So pull on it. And cut. And then just tug on your work. That'll hide that little tail end in. And you're all set to go. And that's it. And with that, we have now completed square 1 and square 2 of our Tunisian sampler afghan, or Tunisian sampler blanket, whatever you want to call it. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, hit that subscribe button. And if you'd like to see some more of my work, you can always follow me on Instagram for the written patterns for, well, all the projects that I feature here on the channel. You can always go to my website, that's modebespoke.com, where you can also find my pattern book. And the pattern book is also available on Amazon, so you can check it out there. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all again, well, next week for the next tutorial.